Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to my channel. I am Thomasin, PA2066. Today is 16th of January 2023. I would like to do a presentation on scope of work and the process of completing a work instruction by a employment or engagement. Let me begin. Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to my channel. What is expected of an agent's job scope? I'm Thomasin, PA2066. Today is 16th of January 2023. So this part of the presentation, I want to make it a point to go in for a general detail, not exactly as in fine print, but then at least the framework, what is expected of an estate agent and what is written in the MEAS, Malaysian Estate Agency Standard. Most agents would do much of the work actually, as I will go through. However, the practice in the market, some of the agents would skip some of the work. So of course I have done earlier on another video recording on the extra, how much extra an agent can deliver to his client so that he can outshine the competition. So let me begin. I'm using the MEAS 3rd edition 2020. This is the latest edition for Malaysian Estate Agency Standard. There is a part on the due diligence by agent. Of course, it involves a few things. Just before I begin, agency appointment or engagement in the new MEAS 3rd edition 2020, the word appointment is now replaced by engagement. So whatever interchangeably used, appointment and engagement, we refer to the same legal position of an agent who is engage or appoint in this sense by a vendor, and vendor in agency contract will be the principal who appoints this agent to carry out a instruction. So of course it involves certain reasons that it is in law, because they want to emphasize the types of engagement, and therefore we will talk about those area also in the subsequent slides. Very important part is that when an agent is appointed or engaged, an agent is given a legal position to represent the principal, in this case the vendor. So what he is engaged for need to be spelled out in the terms of the engagement. This refers back again to MEAS 5 and MEAS 3, what type of engagement he is being given. So this is the agent's job scope and the due diligence checklist, which I refer back to the 2020 3rd edition of the MEAS. This is a guidance note. Of course, MEAS is a standard, is of course not as legally in the position of a Act of Parliament like the Act 242 or the Rules 1986, but the guidance notes from standard is good practice. So following this will be an important flaw that we keep it to a standard to deliver a practice in the market. And of course there are points that probably involving other laws which I want to attract your attention. Of course, the part on the AMLA, which is the Anti-Money Laundering and Terrorism Financing, Counter-Terrorism Financing Act. So whereby you need to know about who your customer or client is in order to avoid legal pitfalls, engaging somebody who is not fit in law, or who is involved with the terrorism. So hence in this case, screening your customer or know your customer, KYC, is an important step in the job of an estate agent, the job scope. So here is put down as due diligence checklist. Of course, this MEAS 2020 was written sometime in 2018. So at that time, maybe the law that governs the AMLA was not highly zoomed for real estate. So real estate started to be under the radar around 2019. So it is understood now that that part, screening the contacts, either as a prospect or as a vendor, is important to rule out the risk of AMLA or the Counter Terrorism Financing Act. Let me begin. So agent's job from the beginning to the end. So in fact, before an appointment or an engagement is put down in official terms, like whether it's in a WhatsApp or it's a verbal committed appointment, first thing is usually you get inquiry or you are called by a prospect client, so a prospect vendor who wanted to ask for opinion or asking you for help. So this client who is going likely in the frequency of engaging you would express the interest to know how the market is, and usually he may be referred by your previous client or previous vendor, or maybe even your friends. So he may have seen your advertisement and seen your ability to organize a good marketing effort for your group of customers. So you did not solicit for him. Of course, we are, as professionals, are not allowed to solicit. But then this person has got to know you and has trust in you. So in the way, instruction may be pending so not yet given you the instruction. So at this stage, an estate agent will to give some consultation free of charge most of the time, usually trying to learn more about this particular prospect client, as in helping the client in his area of mobilizing assets. Maybe he wants to sell or maybe he wants to let. Second part, we inquire the prospect in more detail is likely to secure a listing already for sales or to let if it is a landlord. Likely going into subject of the property, discussing the property, we do the fact finding. So this is already into more contact specific on the specific subject property. So usually we will ascertain the registered proprietor of the property, subject property which this person has called up. He may be an interest party, but he may not be the registered proprietor. So for example, he is the son of the owner, but the owner is old and he is trying to help the owner who is maybe a parent or an uncle. So these are quite normal scenario, and we need to ascertain whether this subject property is actually how is it related to the inquiring person, whether it's a relative of the registered proprietor or it's just a friend. And next is to of course know about where about this property is, and whether it's leasehold, freehold, whether it is tenanted currently or is it owner is on use. What are the other information likely we need to do checking would be condition of the place, characteristic, any history taking. Sometimes this house has been on sale for some time or it's been on advertisement for certain time. So we need to know who are the other agency. Maybe the previous agency was exclusively appointed. So if that is the case, we are not supposed to take this job because it is already exclusively appointed by giving this appointment to other agency. So these are things that we have to ensure. If it is a case that they may be core agency, then we will work on the core agency. At the end, we need to know who is making the decision. The rightful person who makes the decision should be given due respect. Not anyone who simply just inquire and anyone that says and claim himself to be representing the subject property. The subsequent step would be the crucial element to pay attention to during the inspection. Of course, need to see the physical state of the property, why the subject property is put up for sale or for rent, what is the expectation of the client, what are the potential difficulty challenges of the job. Of course, if it is a difficult job, then you may need to explain to have a level discussion with the prospect clientele of that expectation may not be met and therefore of course coming to the discussion of the asking price that to advertise, what possible threshold area, and other terms is whether that there is an expectation of a high down payment or cash term and expected time frame for completing the job. Of course, all in I would use the word the difficulty level of agent taking this job. So this will be a preliminary understanding of the scope of the work. And of course, at this moment there may be issues of difficulties that you may want to highlight to the prospect client, and that includes putting in budget for marketing and how much of effort that you are going to foresee spending time over this subject property. And therefore, it comes to the point that if both party agrees to come to an engagement, so that there is an agency contract between the vendor now as a vendor to give this subject property for an agency to market. So you need to explain the types of engagement according to MEAS 3 to explain it clearly to the prospect client. And this being explained would arrive at also the agreement of how fees are paid. So how fees are paid is according to MEAS 3, whether when there is a successful close for the exclusive appointment or engagement, then the successful close would have a payment of exclusive professional fee, even though the close may not be directly done by the appointed engaged agency, because the agency put in effort in marketing. So if it is a sole engagement, that means the owner and the vendor and the agency firm both are allowed to bring customer, and if it is proven that the successful close is by the vendor himself, then the sole agent cannot claim the agency professional fee. And the third joint agency appointment, which is a few agents are appointed. So in the case that by facts finding you know that other agents are already engaged, then this would be likely the case, joint appointment or engagement, and or the ad hoc open listing type of engagement. So when it is joint and ad hoc type of engagement, then you know that you have competing agency that is doing the same job, and therefore difficulty level as well as the amount of effort to put in is up to the agency. Of course, the MEAS 3 mentioned that for exclusive and sole engagement, it is the highest priority for the agency to put in marketing effort. And if the discussion arrive at the joint and ad hoc engagement, that means it may affect how much of work that the agency is going to put in, because they are competing agencies. So therefore, your timing of effort and the types of work to be done may be lighter, because other agents are also marketing it. But on the equal balance side of the chances of closing, because you have competing agents, therefore the likelihood of closing the deal and taking the professional fee may not be as high as exclusive and sole. So this arrive at both parties understanding the expectation of this agency appointment. So awarding the agency engagement by the letter of engagement signed by the vendor. So this part, the scope of the work as well as the type of engagement will be spelled out in writing inside this letter of engagement. So if it is exclusive engagement or sole engagement, there will be further clauses that says how fees are paid, and then the timeline. Of course, if it is exclusive engagement or the sole engagement, there will be emphasis on how long the period of time that this is given. Maybe the vendor would say that I will give you a 3 months exclusive time. If you cannot deliver your work, then I will open up as an ad hoc or joint agency engagement to other agents. So this means this engagement letter is very important, and the engagement letter also would spell out how fees is paid, timing of the payment up to securing a potential buyer or a potential tenant, and signing of the sales and purchase unconditional agreement. Or if it is a conditional agreement, then up to the both party to decide what payment terms is it for this process of fee claiming. So this similar letter of engagement also would point to getting permission from the vendor on the payment of professional fee, claiming from the client's account earlier booking fee paid. If there is a booking paid, then the booking is paid into the client's account, which in this letter of engagement allows the agency firm to take out from this client's account for the payment of the professional fee. So also in the same letter of engagement, need to emphasize also if there is a potential fallout in between prospect signing the letter of offer and acceptance towards the area where it is sales and purchase agreement. If any fallout, how to handle the forfeiture of the deposit paid. So usually this is spelled out also as 50% sharing between the agency firm and the vendor if the deposit booking fee is forfeited to the vendor. The last but not least is the permission to do the advertising and marketing. So of course the property for sale or for purpose of let or for leasing is actually given the authority to advertise by the vendor. So there is also a clause inside the letter of engagement which specifies that purpose of promotion and advertising. And if there is any reason that you need to claim any disbursement, let's say it is a plot of land quite far away, and every time you got to drive very far to show to prospect, then you may want to claim all this petrol. So all these things is allowable for claim. Of course need to be specified, so to be explained to the vendor so that no confusion later. After having done all that, you can proceed to do advertising. So in terms of advertising, you of course need to explain to the vendor about what are the modes of advertising you're going to do. If the vendor says that no, I do not want you to advertise in a newspaper because I don't want people to know that my house is for sale, and then therefore you need to explain to him that okay, in this case then I will not advertise in newspaper, but can I advertise in social media, or can I advertise in using online system? So all that need to be discussed with the vendor, and based on the agreed terms of how to promote it, also draft out how sales presentation is to be done. Usually the vendor will leave it to the agency firm or the agent to do this part, and then talk about if there is a negotiation and what are the objections that could come out from the viewing prospects. Then maybe discount, pricing, all that need to be threshed out. Whether you're going to do open house and how is the cost of this doing open house, is it chargeable to vendor or not? If there is a chances that you're going to employ high-tech 360 VR or AR methods of taking video. Are you going to charge the vendor or not for the services? So these are things that need to be discussed also. If there is a chance that you are able to engage discussion in the discussion with the vendor, it also spell out how sophisticated your marketing is. And again, open to call agency, and you need to prepare on the call agency side whether it is okay or not. If you are not joint agent and you are appointed as an exclusive agent or sole agent, you would want to do call agency. Get the call agency engagement letter or appointment to get an call agent to come in to help you up lah. So if that is your plan, what are the call agency agreement standard that you are going to use? Maybe this is between you and the call agent, but then the vendor need to be informed. So the vendor need to be informed that you are bringing in call agent. So is there any other things that you may want to talk to the vendor? Maybe there are issues like bigger properties. You may want to do tender, or you may want to go for different modes of sale. And the procedure of viewing, if it is a highly secured place and place with expensive personal effect, then of course there are security reasons to look into how to record down using viewing forms and viewing procedures. So there are of course other reasons that security issue came about. Getting to a secure area, the risk of injury or even risk of occupational hazard may happen if it is a area of like factory, whereby there may be high tension wire, or there could be construction ongoing. So these are issues whereby you need to let the customer know there are certain procedure to ensure all this safety adheres to. Next is the potential closing, where a deal can be closed. The deal close means by taking the deposit. So what is the deposit to take, and deposit to be kept by the vendor himself, or deposit to be remitted to the client's account of the agency. And then what are the terms? These are usually also highlighted by MEAS 5, terms of engagement, which will include the payment steps of the potential prospect buyer. So these are all inside the letter of offer and acceptance, or the letter of agreement to purchase, or the agreement to rent to rent the place. So whereby there is a specific how much a down payment to take from the prospect, and then when to go forward to sign the sales and purchase agreement, how much of the deposit, and whether there is a loan, how much of the loan will be secured for the payment steps, which is usually 3 months plus 1 month. And if there is a reason that there is a delay, whether any interest will be levied on the late payment. In the real practice, usually by then you would have a idea of who is the lawyer to draft the sales and purchase agreement. So if usually it is the vendor's lawyer, because the vendor's lawyer has all the document. Usually the same lawyer will be the person who initially had seen the previous acquisition by the owner. So if the owner already used this lawyer during the acquisition of the said subject property, then the lawyer would have all the information and to draft a sales and purchase agreement given to the purchaser's lawyer. At this stage also, you will know who likely is the person who handle the loan, a banker, and also which bank, and therefore you will know the valuer to ascertain the price. Of course, your asking price may be lower than the market value, but this is to be ascertained by the banker's valuer. Next would be usually a follow-up lah. If it is already gone to the lawyers to proceed to sales and purchase agreement, then likely agent's job would be ensuring that all documents are submitted to the lawyers. The receipt, because you have made a collection of the deposit, therefore you need to produce a receipt to the usually to the purchaser so that the purchaser would have a record that a deposit or booking has been paid to the agency. If it is not kept by the agency, then the money is paid to the vendor's lawyer. Purchaser lawyer would know that it is paid to the vendor's lawyer, and the vendor's lawyer will keep this in their lawyer firms, law firms, client's account. But if the agency is keeping the booking deposit, then this receipt produced for the money paid into the client's account, a copy of it, usually we now send by WhatsApp, would be given to the vendor's lawyer, saying that yes, the purchaser has put a deposit with the agency. Then the bankers would usually, after having paid the deposit, the booking deposit, earnest deposit, bankers would start up the machinery to get the loan facility, offer letter from the bank. Usually bank will be very fast if the purchaser has already good track record with the bank. Usually this will take only about a week or two. Then banker side will send the information to the panel valuer to get the value of the bank value. Usually we call this a bank value, and by making phone call, and the sales and purchase agreement preparation is on the way. The banker side, when upon payment of the deposit and likely secured, they need to produce a valuer's report. So this, although it's already orally, verbally quoted the bank's value, then the valuer will produce a detailed report by going to the property and do measurement. So that will take also another 2 weeks, maybe 1 to 2 weeks, to get the bank valuation and the market value report by the registered valuer. So from the part, the lawyer will proceed to prepare the sales and purchase agreement, and if the lawyer is quick enough, then the lawyers, after signing the sales and purchase agreement, at the same time will send the stamping purpose to inquire from JPPH the market value for payment of the stamp duty. Actually, coming to the completion, when a sales and purchase agreement is signed, an unconditional sales and purchase agreement means legally the transaction is legalized, and with this sales and purchase agreement being stamped, then it means a completion of the sales and purchase. So this, although the bank has not made the disbursement of the loan, on paper it is completed, the sales and purchase is completed, although the money is still not paid because the loan is not been released. The title is still at this stage, the title is still at the vendor's name, and although it's unconditional SPA sign, it still takes time for the transfer to be effective. And therefore, we'll talk about the area of conditional SPA, when conditional contract in where state authority needs to approve the sales, then at the time of conditional sales and purchase agreement sign, is still not legally completed. So there is still a last part waiting for the state authority to approve it. So only when the state authority approve the transfer, then it is legally transferred. Transfer of legal ownership is completed. So based on the terms and the terms of engagement, as well as in the MEAS 3, the types of engagement, whether it is written there, transfer means completion of the legal ownership by signing the unconditional SPA or a conditional SPA. The professional fee is payable. So by that time, the agency will issue an invoice to the vendor, the client, and then saying that the fee is due, and then based on the part where is claimable from the letter of engagement from this client's account, then the client's account is paid out to the normal payment to the agency and then the receipt of the payment of a professional fee and the sales and service tax is issued to the vendor. So the vendor receives the invoice, at the same time receives also the receipt of the payment, because the money is taken out from the client's account to make payment as a professional fee. So if there is a call agent at this time, then the call agent will get paid. So when the call agent get paid, it's actually invoicing out by the this call agent to the listing agent, and then listing agent pay the money to the call agent, and then call agent would issue a receipt to the listing agent. So let's say we complete the process as according to SPA sign as a completion of job done. There are extra area where a good agent will follow through. So these are extra area where the agent will go back to the lawyer side, the vendor's lawyer, and proceed to helping up the purchaser's lawyer on vacant possession, delivery of the vacant possession by the buyer, because the buyer by then would be in close communication with the agent as well, helping him to execute the various steps to get the keys. So usually the keys will be surrendered to the vendor's lawyer, and vendor's lawyer would call the purchaser lawyer to come and collect. So the purchaser lawyer would send his man to go and collect the keys when all the money is being paid. Purchaser lawyer side will pay all the money to the vendor lawyer, and the vendor lawyer would ensure that the money is paid to the vendor after deducting all the outgoings. So this means that the purchaser lawyer would have the keys, and therefore the purchaser goes back to the purchaser lawyer side to get the keys and open up the place. And usually the last bit would be local council side for the assessment bill and whatever meters to open account of a new meter for either electricity or water. Usually telecom is not included, but of course if the purchaser wants to do the registration for the telecom site, then these are all included in the final delivery of the vacant possession. Right, so the conclusion for agents' job scope would be here as in preliminary inquiry, trying to get to know the potential client, then securing his listing, where also physical inspection of the subject property, then taking the important crucial elements of the subject property and negotiating deal as an agency contract. Also to know about the market analysis, what are the comparative pricing of the surrounding property for rental as well as for sale. Then arriving at the legal letter, agency engagement letter, called the letter of engagement, which will spell out the type of engagement as well as how fees are paid, and giving the agency the permission to do a few things. One of them of permission is actually for claiming the professional fee from the client's account. Second is to allow the forfeited deposit, if there is to be claimable 50%. Third is the permission to do marketing and advertising. So these are the 3 points that is usually spelled out in the letter of engagement as well. And then the terms and conditions, if they are extra that is needed to be worded into the letter of engagement, also determines the job scope of the agency lah. And hopefully the agency would have an effective clause for a prospect to come forward and to sign the letter of offer and acceptance or the agreement to purchase or agreement to rent. Then it is spelled out inside also that the booking earnest deposit and what are the step payments and part of securing loan, as well as the time frame because time is the essence in a contract time frame to sign the sales and purchase agreement. So after that, proceed to sales and purchase agreement with the offer letter from the bank, as well as down payment that to be paid on the day of signing the sales and purchase agreement. And after that, by right, the agency's job is done, because unconditional sales and purchase agreement would be indicative of the time to get paid for the professional job done. And some agency would have extra to follow up to help the purchaser, so that the purchaser would follow through and the vendor also being paid according to the sales and purchase agreement. Normally this part of the job is by the lawyer the lawyer side would follow through, and by the help of the agent to make sure final payment and the taxes are being paid up Then the final part is to get the keys and move into take over the house, physical house, and some of the meter fees and application for the electricity and water. Thank you very much. I have done some platforms here to go through them. E-learning system, which is estateagentexam.com. We have 2 advertising platform. One is contract2you.com, which has a comparative index IPI, and the other one is findwhere.info, which is a geo-linking platform for agents. We have also the My Real Property Online, which is a website that I keep my listing as well as videos. Thank you for visiting my channel. I am Thomasin PA2066. This is my mobile number and the 3 listing website, as well as an platform online self-study of estate agents examination. Thank you.